And we're going to try to be sure that when we see a phrase, we treat it with all the respect that it is due. Me'artzecha, number 5. This is with a mercha. Mercha is likely connected to what's come from before, but mostly going to bring us forward into what the next word phrase is going to tell us. To begin with, quote, you have to sever feelings and longings deriving from your land, as denoted by the directional shape of the reading mark. So while he has a light tie to what he was before, Artzecha, it's mostly going to bring him forward into what he is going to go afterwards. Umi moladtecha, with a tivcha. This is a backwards looking note that connects to the word before and pauses slightly afterwards. Number 6, abandon the usual sentiments of the past and from your birthplace, as suggested by the closing shape of the related meaning mark. So this is going to say that all of those things that would have been imposed on you based on where you were living, all of those things have ended now. And again, we read that from the pause that is implied after a tivcha, that this is something that is going to was yours before, and it is no longer you. And we have an alternate translation, umem moladtecha. Umi moladtecha, and from your birthplace, does not only mean from the physical place of your dimensions, but from your biological, genetic position of reproduction. Mem moladtecha mochocha hamolid. It is mikochacha, from the power of the one who gives birth to, or the one who allows something to come into reality. As Rashi says, kan iyata zochelevani. Here, you are not prone to have children. So what he is telling Avram is, you are going to come to a place where you are not going to have a future, and yet you're going to do it because I'm telling you. So this is yet another one of the things, and we see many things that are presented to Avram as tests of his strength of faith and his strength of character, is, let me put it another way. God tells Avram later on to look into the stars, and you're going to have that many children, and the next phrase is V'hamin b'Hashem, and he believed in God. V'yachsheveh lo tzedakah. God thought this was a very charitable thing that he was going to put to Avram's credit. God told him, you're going to have lots of children. Okay, so Avram believed it. Everything that God has told him up until now, Avram has believed. So what's special about this particular time when God says you're going to have lots of children, that it becomes to Avram's merit?
Because you're saying,
and the answer is
he was told
that
he wouldn't.
Looking into the stars is something more than just looking up at the sky. Part of the Jewish concept of mazalot, of zodiac and stars, is there is, as Einstein hadn't quite gotten around, the concept of that if you knew enough of the physical laws of the universe and were able to put enough into the equation, you could predict everything that would happen. So this is still elusive in physics today, but there is, if you had enough information and had the right formula, you could plug everything in and you could predict things. And the concept of mazalot, and the concept of what perhaps the forefathers learned from Shem and Aver is the ability to look into nature and say, if I could plug it into the formula, this is what should happen. So literally, somebody whose name was Avram would never have children by the laws of nature. And what we're told as Jews is that there is another world above the laws of nature that supersedes it, in which things can happen that wouldn't happen by the laws of nature. So when you wish someone mazal tov, when you wish someone that phrase, you're not telling them good luck. You're telling them the exact opposite. You're telling them that the good thing that happened to you right now should be as if that were the way that it were written for someone like you. If you predicted the universe, that should be your beginning point. But we know that as Jews we can supersede that. You can have even more, but what we're saying is this should be your starting point. Your starting point should be the good thing that you had came to you naturally and the world would have given it to you. But we know that you can exceed that. And Avram, when he looks into the stars and sees that somebody named Avram can never have children, and God said you're going to have children, and yet he's staring at the facts that he knows how to read. He believes when God says that you can supersede the system, that he can supersede the system. Vayachshaveha lo tzedakah. That is what was to Avram's merit. That's what God gave him brownie points for being able to realize that he can go beyond the system. So we're saying, Umi molad techa, you're going to go beyond what you were born to be, what your genetics, what the world, what the mazalot literally would say that you are capable of. You're going to be something more if you maintain faith in Hashem.
So just connected to the note, though, like the whole parish is about the shape of the note.
Like whenever we see something that says alt or something that says NB or something that says note, these are things that are not necessarily directly in the line with the parish.
No, but I'm not talking about that, right? Sure. So even the sixth part, where we always say, when you say, okay, Kitcha is mostly what came before.
Drawing back and pausing afterwards.
Okay,
so his birthplace, where he was, is something that's in his past, and it's ending now. Tipcha, connected to what you were before, and there's no more of that. Because Tipcha has an implied pause after it.
Right, but the bulk of Tipcha, you say, is...
It doesn't matter. We don't necessarily use the same element of each note every time we interpret it.
Oh.
We know that Tipcha has those elements inside of it, and we decide which one we're going to emphasize based on the word group that it's connected to. So Tipcha, which has a looking backwards, and it's his birthplace. It's where he was. It's looking backwards to what he was.
Yeah.
And it's got a pause. You're not having that anymore.
You're not having what's that?
Your connection to your previous birthplace, your connection to what you were before. Right. So it's exactly in line with what this phrase is trying to tell us. You were there before, you're not there anymore. Tipcha, look back, no more. Perfectly fits with what the note tells us.
Well, what was it about? We should check what did we do stum? We didn't do stum, did we?
We did not yet.
With Lot's wife, it'll be interesting what note it is there. Because she could say, let's say she's studying the marriage, she says, but the note said I should look back.
But it ends there.
She could use it, and it did end there. She became a pillar of salt and it ended there.
We will leave that as suspense for later on.
But based on what we know now, like what you always do with the Parshat, what do you think it's going to be? What that note is going to be? Well, we know the Yid Ma'ama, but that was.
Okay.
Hence the Hebrew proverb. Mishanem Makom, Mishanem Mazal. Somebody who goes to a different place changes literally his mazal, the way that the world is going to unfold for him is how I'm going to translate mazal. Corresponding with the astrological concept that each factor relates to place and time, expressed by a specific number. So again, literally you can mathematically plug in the elements of your life and predict what is going to happen to you.
It's a good place to mention that didn't Avram write Sefer Yetzirah? Which is all about the astronomy. He was a genius in astronomy. He's credited with writing Sefer Yetzirah.
Just
Marlowe wrote it.
Chris Marlowe?
Marlowe.
Marlon Brando? Your brother?
No, that was a joke. That Shakespeare didn't write it.
Yeah.
Marlowe.
Oh, Marlowe, the other Marlowe.
The word mazal is probably an Aramaic word, I think.
No, it's not. It comes from Nazal. Drop, like,
Zal, right?
no.
Which is Aramaic, the root is Aramaic.
From Nazelet, I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
how's that Aramaic? Oh, from Aramaic, I think, okay.
Like the idea of something reading or flowing like this, related to Muslim.
Right.
So the people who have the names, because I know people with that name. What is?
Well, that can't go. I want my building as muscle. She doesn't have any
Yeah.
muscle at all.
It's just a popular Sephardic name,
Mhm.
and they mean like
Yeah.
for good fortune.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's like Fortuna.
number 7, Umi Beit. This has a munach on it. A munach has a sharp demarcation of what's come from before and mostly leading us forward into what's going to go afterwards. Number 7, you shall forget memories from before and from the house of your dwelling, Ur or Haran, as expressed by the shape of the reading mark. And again, we have a sharp demarcation between where you were before and where you're going to go afterwards. Avicha, with the stabilizing etnachta in the middle of the sentence. Number 8, what your father had started, you shall accomplish with success and glory, as specified by the stabilizing shape of the reading mark. So, while Terach had left his birthplace, Avram is going to take that idea and turn it into something that was successful, because Vayamot Terach b'Charan. Terach remained in Haran and never actualized the concept of fully getting out of what he was and who he was before.
Typical Jew commercialized. It's not commercial.
Just before you go on, you know what you always do with the Parsha? Did Matot must they have a Karnei Parah? Is that where it is?
Yes.
Oh, that would have been a good thing to discuss, but okay.
We talked about it last year, actually. It's on the tape. But I just thought that we wanted to get a little more into it this week, so we didn't do that this week.
Also, the double Parsha.
Number-
That's super.
So we have another note where NB, Me'artzecha, Umi Moladtecha, Umi Beit Avicha, quote from your land and from your birthplace and from the house of your father. So you'll notice that when we have these side notes, we're not sticking so close to the formula that we were before, that the note and word grouping sticks together, and we're just having a side note of something else that he feels was relevant that we needed to know. So those things are in the Sefer as well, apart from the strict.
Like he needs a break from his own parish.
The strict parish that applies the meaning directly to the Tamim. So, in terms of physical departure, the expressions are presented in a reverse order. Nevertheless, they comply with proper order with respect to emotional separation of affections.
Where are you reading
So,
that?
Me'artzecha,
In the end.
Mimoladtecha, Umibeit Avicha,
At the end,
we are saying that the thing that you are least emotionally connected to is what you're leaving first, and the thing that you are most emotionally connected to is the thing that you're leaving last. Whereas the other order, Beit Avicha, Mimoladtecha, Me'artzecha, is the physical spheres that you have to go out of. You have to go out of the smaller circle and then out of the relatively larger circle and then out of the largest circle. So what we're told by this order is that this is an emotional process that Avram needs to go through, much more than a physical process. That he needs to detach himself from his feelings for what he had before, much more than he needed to detach himself from his surroundings. So his previous philosophy and the attachments related to it are much more something that would have held him back than physically staying. So again, when we talked about Moshe and his complete abnegation of self, Avram had to do the same thing. He had to literally move away from who he was in order to become who he would be.
This seems sort of after the fact because he's done a lot of this process already. It's not like he's leaving Ur Kasdim now.
But we're saying this is an emotional leaving, and the hardest thing to do was to leave his father behind. His father's still in Haran. He had to leave there. So he had to break from his character in order to be an example.
So
Well, no, Avram,
even though he said he died, but Lech Lecha is already going.
Has happened many years before Terach dies.
Right. That makes no sense. Right. But the Artzachad, you see, whatever. Okay.
Number 9, El Haaretz.
See, that's what
to
I'm
the
saying.
country.
Basically, so when he's saying this, really Hashem should have only said Mibeit Avicha at this point because he already did with Terah. You know what I mean? That's why I got mixed up.
So if we're talking about the emotional removing of these influences from him, then this is still something that might have been work that Avram needed to do. Even though he had physically left, that doesn't mean that he had abandoned all of those concepts and all of those influences on his character. So even though he had physically left those places,
what are you talking about? Ur Kasdim or Haran? Or both?
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Influences. He's telling him that this is an emotional process, not a physical process. So you have to get rid of all of your ties to the way that they thought there and the way that they behaved there. And he might still have carried some of those things with him, even if he physically had left.
But how about all the stories about breaking the idols? It seems like he did all this way a lot, even still in Ur Kasdim. And it's not like he's going to Canaan. It's not like the Muncie or something.
It's worse
than where he was.
Just because you've done one act doesn't mean that you've necessarily gotten it completely out of your character. When we come up to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, the idea of asking for kapara, literally to wipe the slate clean.
Well, no, that's not literally. Kapara is covering it, not wiping it out.
Okay, but what we're asking. Mm-hmm. What we're asking is, we're asking, make us somebody who wouldn't even have thought of doing that in the first place. So we have to detach from the character and personality traits that would have made you somebody somebody who would have done that in the first place, and that's what you're trying to do.
It's like leave all these emotional other ties behind. It's like I forget which one of the rabbis. All the big rabbis in Yerushalayim were still big baseball fans. I forget which was the rabbi said that when the Yankees won the World Series, they just didn't care, gave a kiddush. His final left Galus behind. The point is that even though he lived in Jerusalem,
I don't
know if it's coming. That's one of the big rabbis who came from New York.
Right.
Was a big Yankees fan.
He was, yeah.
And he realized that it was silliness, but he always cared about what the Yankees did.
Okay.
And it just so happened one year the Yankees won the World Series, and he just didn't care. And he realized he finally broke free from that. He left his gullus behind, finally. So it's this same kind of thing, to sever all the ties that you had that whole life, all that was there behind you.
I still know the Academy Award, but I'm not giving that. You'll test me in 10 years.
El Haaretz, number 9, with the tipcha. So now we're going to look back again. We've said that Avram is separating himself out from all of these things. And why are we looking back again? Number 9. You shall continue to the country in a direction chosen by your father, as referred backwards by the directional shape of the reading mark. So, again, Avram is given a difficult task. He's given to emotionally separate himself from the task while physically doing something that seems to connect him. His father said, go there, we're going that way. And Avram is going to continue in the direction that Terach pointed the family, and yet he has to do it with a completely different mindset. So he's still going the way that his father pointed them, but he's going to be a different person when he approaches that decision and when he actualizes the trip.
Say it again. I don't get it.
Tipcha, pointed back. Why are we dealing with something that's pointed back? He told them, separate from this, separate from that.
Right.
So why is he looking back? He's looking back because he's given still where Terach is going still, where Terach had pointed the entire family. And yet, he's going to go
Terach's
there.
original plan was to go to Israel also, to Canaan?
He went in that direction.
Okay.
Starting from point A to point B, it's a line. So yes.
They were just wanting to get out because it was dangerous. Well, no, what I don't remember already. Terach was planning to go the full way to Israel too? Why did they stop again? Why did we say?
So Terach found enough comfort and relief in Haran that he decided that he didn't have to go any further.
Mm-hmm.
He still could be immersed in who he was and a similar culture without having to go farther. So Terach didn't want to separate from who he was. He just didn't want to be put in jail.
Okay, but just to play devil's advocate, Avraham Avinu, he's only going because Hashem told him to. He wasn't going to go. If he didn't get this command in Lech Lecha, who knows, he might have stayed in Haran too. I mean, we're making Avraham to be such a tzaddik, but he's only going because now Hashem is telling him, Vayom Hashem el Avraham Lech Lecha. It's not like he's going
but
Lech Lecha.
I'm missing your point, I'm sorry.
No. So we had said at the end of Noach that perhaps Terach was not the villain that he is portrayed to be in a lot of the other Mefarshim, that he did something for a proper purpose and did it in the right way. He just couldn't finish off the act. And Avram...
But there was no commandment to Terach, he's saying. The same way you're saying Terach's not the bad guy, I'm just saying, maybe Avram's not the good guy that we're saying. It's not like he went Lech Lecha on his own. That would be great.
So
Avram,
but do you understand what we're saying in the sentence?
Maybe not.
Avram is given something more. He's saying you have to get rid of the character elements within you that still connect you to the person who used to live in Ur Kasdim. Because otherwise, when you get to the new place, you're just going to be somebody who's living that old life in a different place, and you're not going to be something.
Where did Abraham get this tonight?
Anywhere.
In Ur Kasdim or in Haran?
Well, that's not defined by the sentence here,
Right.
and different Mefarshim have different answers. Wait a minute,
that's significant. If he would have gotten it in Ur Kasdim, then Abraham really is not the tzaddik that we thought he was, because then
then it's a literal.
Look how long it took.
Then it's much more of a literal leaving Artzcha and Molad Zakat. If he's getting it from Haran, to which he was a newly arrived person, a relatively, right? That's not his Molad Zakat, right?
Okay, but what I'm trying to say is, he might have gotten this nevuah once he had reached Canaan already.
Canaan already.
Once he was there already. Because he's telling him to emotionally leave the way that he was before. He's already physically left.
Well, maybe not. You
But
can't
he's
take it out
telling
of the
him,
shop,
if you're
though.
going to be here, you have to be a different person.
Right.
And he could already physically be there and still have the mindset of the other place.
That's a good point.
So it's not defined, and Torah is written specifically in ambiguous terms
Yeah.
because there is a validity to all of the different interpretations. So the answer is probably all three answers have a validity.
Yeah.
That part of Lech Lecha was in Ur Kasdim, and part of Lech Lecha is in Haran, and part of Lech Lecha is in Canaan.
And part of it's ongoing. Oh, yeah.
And by the way, Terach did set out for Canaan because it says in Noah.
Lalachet Arza Canaan. They were going to go towards to the land of Canaan. By Avo ad Haran, and they came to Haran, and they stayed by Yeshvisham, and they stayed there.
So this could be a kitrug actually of Abraham, because even though Terach didn't get the command from Hashem,
So I don't remember all of the details of it, but Rabbi Michalowicz gave a talk on Rosh Hashanah at one of his classes, and what he did was he took the 10 tests of Abraham, and he specifically textually looked at them in detail and showed how Abraham failed each and every one of the 10 tests. So if you look into the details, in fact, there's an element of failure in each one. And again, Torah has that ambiguity written into it because there's a validity to this and to that.
That's like that famous one with Sarah when he canceled the account that she's insulted. Actually, she thought it was like a failure. What? He wasn't good enough for you. My son's not good enough to be a korban. Yeah.
So again, you have to have the ability to look at the text and allow it to lead you to what it's trying to lead you to. And the clue in this sentence is the progression of emotional leaving, not physical leaving. And that allows the interpretation of this actually being told to Avram while he is already in Canaan. We will go on.
It's just my other point was that he's going from one idol worship to another idol worship. Even worse, probably. Canaanim were probably worse than in Mesopotamia. There, at least they had a developed.
So
I always wonder that when they sent Eliezer to get Rivka, it's not that she came from a husband idol worship too. So Canaanim, whatever. So it's similar now.
Right.
Asher, that with a mercha, so likely connected to what's come from before, but mostly moving forward into what's going on. Number 10, you shall know only places that you make your stopovers, as illustrated by the directional shape of the reading mark. So what Avram is being told is that he's not going to stay in one place once he reaches Canaan. He's going to go from place to place to place, and it is going to be his job to be an example rather than an inhabitant. He's going to go from place to place to place and feel the energy and radiate the energy of each place, rather than say, I am a Jerusalemite, I am a thisite, I am somebody who defines myself based on this one city alone. He's going to experience all the different aspects of each of the areas of the land. Our Eka, I will show you with the stabilizing Sof Pasuk. In the course of your migration, I will show you which regions to elect for your dwellings. So Avram is going to be led by God to here and there and there and there. He's going to be taught. He's going to be told at each place to stay here, and then he's going to feel the energy or the difference of that place in order to define it for generations, in order to be able to show what the strength of each of the places is. And you'll remember that we sort of said the Reisha, the first half of the sentence until Etnachta, is perhaps the more elevated concept, and the second half of the sentence, the Seifa, after the Etnachta until Sof Pasuk, is perhaps the lower part, and the first half of the sentence, we're talking about emotional separation and spiritual separation from what was come from before, and in the second half, we're talking about the physical energies of the place where you're going to be. So we're talking closer to the ground, closer to reality, and in the top we're talking about closer to heavenly or spiritual or emotional. So we're going to read through the sentence, and as we read through the sentence, we're going to notice that